How's it going, everybody? This amazing Sunday night wild card weekend in NFL. This is your host Logan Pachesney, alongside with me Justin Mini Me Peck. This is Sports Bros Podcast. Justin, how's it going today?
Going great. How are you doing?
Well, other than the technical difficulties we had earlier, I am doing wonderful.
Yeah, it's technical difficulties are always a bitch.
Yeah,
Technology technology's great, but you hate when this shit comes up.
I don't even hate technology 90% of the time. I could probably almost deal without it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then I get this great idea of wanting to mess with our beautiful background of ours. And of course, as well, let's see here. I'll transition it because as you can see, it's no longer the same thing. I'm still kind of working on it as we are speaking. But anyways, we must go on with the show. Rather, I am messing with our stuff or not. As usual, we have a typical um, schedule of talking points, and we always start off with our week to week review on how we did in our week, what we've dealt with, and everything. So, Justin, how's your week been?
Pretty good. A lot of athletic events that I've had to help take care of over the last week between high school and college. College, both men's and women's played 3 games in 5 days. Soon to be 4 games in 7 days because of all the cancellations and rescheduling that has had to happen before the end of the month. High school, not so much. They're still on their same schedule, so I just got to work around that a little bit. But other than that, it's been pretty typical. Nothing really changed at work. Everything's still going the same there, and taking it day by day.
So, unless if you're still planning on waiting for Finn, I know you did get a new job opportunity. When are you planning on announcing
Uh, I'll do that today. I did recently just get a job offer for working in the indoor football league, and I have graciously accepted that position. So I will be starting my new job February 1st, working for the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team.
that? Okay, that's awesome to hear. So, obviously, you can't reveal anything in your contract other than probably the length of it. If I'm right, you told me it's for 6 months. Now, is that like a trial period? How is that in the way of what you will be able to do, like be able to come back or anything like that?
It is a seasonal position, so once the season is over, I have the opportunity to do whatever. There might be some opportunities for me to stay there full time and work with a company that is subcontracted, or I can say no, thank you, and return back to Michigan for the time being outside of their season. Uh,
Okay.
I will have to make that decision when the time comes, depending on the opportunities that could be waiting for me after the season ends. I
Well,
will not regret
obviously.
anything, and
Well, that is definitely exciting news for you. I know you definitely put your heart into what you do for a job, no matter what it is. So I'm sure they'll probably be happy with your work ethic there, and I'm sure that they are will be hoping that after the season is over and you show them how you work and everything that they will be hoping to have you back for the next season.
that is one of my hopes. I hope for this to be something that can transition to where I can do this full time for a career.
Which, like you said, that's over in what, North Dakota, Bismarck.
Correct.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it would. in my eyes kind of suck because I wouldn't see you as much. But with that being said, I you know how I am, and I would definitely wish the best for you. So
Yeah, absolutely. It is gonna suck to where I have to move over several states away from all of my family and friends, and it's unfortunately it does happen with a lot of other people moving away from family and friends for a career, and everyone is understanding. Everyone's happy for me, and they all do wish me success with the occasional visit opportunity to a game. Like I would bring some people up for a game at the college level when I don't get to see them as much. So there's definitely some opportunities for some people to see me in my new line of work.
which is always good. There we go. So yeah, my week's been busy as well. As we were talking I earlier, I kind of went on a shopping spree in the past 24 hours, and as many people don't know, I'm a CPL instructor, and I always try to keep my variety of handguns on hand at a good variety for people to try use so they know what they like or use. And at the same time, I have a wife that likes guns just as much as I do, and for some reason something kicked me in the butt, and I went out and bought my wife a new revolver. So that happened in my life. But other than that, it's been pretty um, quiet over here. So if you want to start us off with what we have to talk about, I can stop where I am right now on the editing portion of it.
Yeah, got a few things to talk about. Not a whole lot on today's agenda, but a few different things. We got a few NFL topics to talk about, a little bit of NHL, and then recapping the SEC championship game, part two, so to speak. But we'll jump right into the NFL. Uh, First on our list is the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell.
Oh,
Uh, we're gonna cover two topics with one, basically. We're gonna go through how the Lions beat the Green Bay Packers using every trick play that Dan Campbell could think of, and how Dan Campbell has changed the culture in Detroit after his season.
well, why don't we start with the culture? Because even though I said I can stop, you know how I am. I'm definitely not stopping on working on the editing. Um, yeah, I do very well believe that Dan Campbell has done the inevitable that no other coach has been able to do and change the culture of football in the locker room of the Detroit Lions here recently in the way they have been playing and everything. So, do I think it will stick? I don't know, but I do hope that it will stick for the most part. But I guess we'll see at the beginning of next season on what happens with them because, like I said, it takes a lot for a coach to just change the culture of a athletic team in just one season.
Yeah. I, Based on his opening press conference this year, I was intrigued already with his kneecap comment. For those of you who have seen it, he said, we are going to play and bite kneecaps off. And I think throughout the season, he has shown that every game, no matter what the score has been, Detroit has never gave up. They have always fought till the final whistle. And this last game against the Packers have certainly shown that. Now, yes, this was almost a throwaway game for the Packers and a throwaway game for the Lions, but they didn't see it that way. They could have easily lost and wanted the number one draft pick. But it's not always about draft picks, it's about the culture. And the way that they finished the season, I think, was a definite stamp as to what they're trying to create.
Well, yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. They Detroit could have easily went in there and threw second string out there, third string out there, and just played to make it look like they were trying, and they didn't. They went out there with the attitude of we're gonna win, we're gonna do it however we can, and I think that proved a point that Dan Campbell and that team does not care if they're 2-13 or 13-2. They're going to go out to every game and do their best to win, no matter what is happening.
Yeah, and the Lions every year have always had heartbreaking losses. But the one thing that you don't really see is the head coach reacting to those losses the way Dan Campbell has this year with the Detroit Lions. He has invested himself into this organization, and with the few heartbreaking losses that they have had, whether it be last second touchdown throws or late game field goal, game winning field goals, you see him tearing up and crying in the press conferences because he loves his team so much that he is willing to give everything he has for a win. You don't see that very often.
Well, exactly. And I mean, with everything he's done from the beginning to now, he's looking at that Green Bay game, I guess. If you look at the end of it, who did the players go to in celebration? They weren't celebrating with amongst themselves. 90% of that team was going over and giving Dan Campbell a high five, a hug, chest bump. They were celebrating with their coach. They didn't leave him out like we've seen in the past.
And that goes to show how much the players trust him as their first year head coach and how much he's invested in them.
Exactly.
Having players that want to play for this coach.
Yep. I firmly believe that we are looking at a culture change over in Detroit for the good. And I honestly can't wait for what is to come. So it's going to be interesting for the most part, but I honestly can't wait to see what happens, especially for what we are about to show. I'll start with the first one.
Can be even better taking advantage.
All right, here. So, 1st and 10, Detroit is on the 25. Let me bring it up. All right. So, 1st and 10, Detroit's on the 25-yard line. This is what they do.
Can be even better taking advantage.
Go Raymond in the backfield. Look at this trickery. Kennedy got a man. Raymond wide open. Now it's a foot race on his way for the touchdown.
Trap, but now he's going to pitch it. He's going to pitch it on the reverse now. And now he's going to throw it to Kalif Raymond. Really good play design. Over the last couple weeks, they've run that kind of inside.
So, with that trickery, I want to point something out here if I can find it really quick. That right here. Look at that jersey. Do you see anything noticeable on that jersey, Justin?
What is it?
The number 19 jersey. Can you see it right there? It's the 19. Notice anything unique about that jersey?
I'm having a hard time seeing it.
Alright, just a second. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for us. Alright, how about now?
trying to watch it on my computer here. Share your screen.
All right, Zach. I'm gonna get back into here. Go here. Where is it? Right there. Go live. All right, you see that 19 jersey?
Yeah,
All right, see anything unique about that jersey?
that's a split jersey. One side, one half Packer, one half Lions.
Do you know why?
Because there are two brothers that were in that game that day.
Yeah.
One happened to be the Detroit Lion, the other was a Green Bay Packer.
Now, knowing that, do you know what positions they both play?
Ironically, I believe they both play wide receivers. Am I wrong?
Wrong. The St. Brown on Green Bay's side is a running back. And on the Detroit side is a running back. The St. Brown on Green Bay side is a wide receiver.
Aha.
But yes, the St. Browns play for each other's rivalry when they played together, I believe, for the same college and in the same high school at the same time, and now they see each other twice a season.
That's got to be fun for the family, doesn't it?
I wouldn't want that. I'm not gonna lie. As much as
Well,
that sounds fun, I would not want that.
Well, watching that game through, I think it was the second one where the mom just couldn't look, and the dad was just all eyes.
Yeah.
I could see how it would be not so fun, but it's something that I think is very cool and you don't see very often.
It's
it's
very
something
rare. It's
yeah.
kind of like the Watt brothers. That's the last time I know of a brothers playing in the NFL and not being on the same team and
From when
probably
they were in
seeing each other
college.
twice a year.
Yeah. Because if I'm not mistaken, one plays for Pittsburgh, the other one plays for Houston,
Yep.
and they both went to the University of Wisconsin together.
Yep. So, it's to be able to say we have something like this in our division alone is amazing to have. But with that being said, a second, bring up the next one. Oh, sweet. It's going to not play for me right away. I love when stuff works the way I need it to.
Came back, and now he's off. So Will Holden moves on the left side. First down. Oh, another trickery. This time it's back to Goff. Got a man. It's caught by Wright. Racing to the end zone. Diving. Touchdown, Detroit.
So, as you can see there, another trickery play with handoffs to get a wide receiver wide open. And why they didn't do that stuff at the beginning of the season, the end of the season, all that beats me. But to see them pulling tricks like that out is phenomenal to me.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you need to have in your back pocket all year long to try and win a game.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many close games the Detroit Lions have had all year long that using one or two of these plays could have won you the game.
Yes, agreed. But it is what it is. And that, like I said, that comes back to, did Dan Campbell change the culture of Detroit? I believe he did. Yeah, they went 2-13-1, but to be able to finish off a season strong and not worry about where you're going to be in the draft after the season ends is a phenomenal way of looking at what he's done. The team bought into the culture that he brought to the team, and so did the staff. And honestly, I can't wait for next season to see what else comes. Hopefully they have an amazing draft. Typically Detroit, for some reason, figures a way to screw up the draft. So hopefully that changes too.
Yeah, and I think that with Dan Campbell as the head coach now, he's going to have a good say as to who he wants to draft. And this could very well be the change in Detroit that we've been looking for as far as drafting.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And everybody is saying, and I probably would agree with them on it, that Aiden Hutchinson is probably going to be taken by Detroit. Rather, Aiden Hutchinson really likes it or not, I firmly see him coming to Detroit through the draft at this point.
Which would bring up the question of who would Jacksonville pick as the first overall pick, but we can't really speculate on that because the season isn't over for all the teams, and we have yet to see how everyone does in the combine.
Well, yeah, exactly. And everybody is, after that performance by U of M, has said they don't believe Aiden because he was quiet in that game will go number one now. So, man, some of these logos I'm picking to put in here are just huge. Anyways.
Okay. Now to America's game. Chargers and Raiders for the last playoff spot that would have changed how the wildcard games would have been played today.
Yeah, that was definitely a wild game from my understanding. I didn't watch the whole thing of it, but that sounded like it was a pretty wild ending to that game.
You had scoring going back and forth throughout all four quarters. At the end of one, it was 10-0 Las Vegas. You had the Chargers score 14 and Vegas score 7 in the second. So at halftime, the score was 14-17 Vegas. Vegas ended up kicking a field goal in the third. Chargers didn't get anything going in the third quarter, so it was 20-14. And in the fourth quarter, the Chargers woke up a little bit more and scored 15 points to Las Vegas's 9 for it to be a 29-29 game at the end of regulation. Now, throughout this entire game, obviously there was speculation as to who wanted to win this game or who should win this game or should this just end in a tie. And me, for watching this game at home, I kept thinking that no, they don't want to tie, and this is just going to be a regular football game with a different score. Well, up until the last few minutes of that game, before overtime, that kind of changed my mind a little bit. And overtime comes along, you get both teams exchanging field goals, and then it's just a back and forth chess match.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, didn't that game go into overtime?
Yeah, in overtime, you had both teams kick a field goal, and then it became a chess match until the last 2 minutes, where the Chargers decided to take a timeout on a 3rd and 4 to, in their opinion and in my opinion, try to hold them so it can be a 4th down situation for them to punt and then maybe get the ball back and they'll have the final possession.
Right.
But according to some reports, the Raiders took that to offense and got a 1st down and kicked a game-winning field goal with no time on the clock instead of playing for the tie.
Yeah.
Players have said that they wanted to end in a tie so that both teams could get in. That's players talk, not coaches talk. And again, there hasn't really been any hard physical facts come out, from my understanding, to where this can be proved that they wanted a tie or not, or if someone wanted to win. But I kind of wanted to know how much the Pittsburgh Steelers and quarterback Ben Roethlisberger were sweating in their homes just watching this game.
Well, yeah, exactly, because his season alone, Ben's, was riding on that game. If don't remember which team would have won, they would have been out. But
if either team would have won, he would have been. But if if it would have been a tie, he would have been out. But if either team had won or lost, he would have gotten in.
So for him to I guarantee you, at least he was glued to his TV just for that game alone, because I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, this is his final season. So after the season, he's retiring.
That is the report that I read earlier this week as well. He will finish out this season and retire.
So with him retiring, he's going to want to go out on a high note, hoping that it's a Super Bowl championship and his final Super Bowl championship. So, yeah, he was probably a little nervous because he announced his retirement, and then that his season's riding on a game on if it ties or not. And he probably even got reports of the rumors of both teams wanting to get in, and they just may play for that tie too.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where we wish we could have had a reporter sitting right by Ben's house for every inch that he moved throughout that game and what he was feeling. I kind of would like to know his thought process through that game.
Oh, I agree. Anyways, moving on. Even though Justin, I can hear my echo. Even though the season is into the postseason now, there are still multiple head coaching vacancies open for Jacksonville, Raiders, Broncos, Bears, Texans, Vikings, Dolphins. With those head coach positions opening up, what direction do you think the team will go, and who do you think they may actually look at to fill that position?
Well, I'm gonna go right off the bat with who's still playing. Oakland Raiders. They have an interim head coach right now. Truthfully, I think they should just name him the head coach. When he took over, he completely changed this team around and made it to the playoffs. So, in my opinion, I don't think that Rich Bisaccia should be the interim head coach anymore. I think they should just promote him to the head coach permanently and see where it goes.
And to correct you, Oakland Raiders season is over.
It is over. Okay.
They lost to the Bengals on Saturday, 26-19.
Thank you for that correction. But again, I still think that there isn't a reason that Oakland can say that he's not a good head coach candidate for their team based on what he's done after the real head coach had been fired and he was made interim.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think if they're going to fill that position with anyone, they need to give him a shot, because he didn't have a full season. He didn't have training camp. He didn't have any of that the coach that they fired had. So I believe that if they kept him there, offered him the head coaching position, he would take it. And honestly, I think at minimum would say next season you'd see the Raiders back into at least the wild card weekend again.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
So,
as far as the Broncos, they have an incredibly talented roster. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah.
The quarterback position has been tricky to figure out since they haven't had much since Peyton Manning back in 2015. But that's really all you have to do for this franchise to be in a playoff mix.
Oh, I
They
agree.
You have young, talented wide receiving core, a young offensive line, a formidable defensive front when the linebackers core is healthy, and a couple of future NFL star cornerbacks with Patrick Sturton and safety Justin Simmons.
Yep.
Apart from the quarterback position, you're going through ownership transfer. You're going through an ownership transfer, but that's something that's not going to be decided. Uh, you'll hope soon, but that's all you need is a quarterback. You can deal with the ownership stuff on the side. What you have to figure out is getting your quarterback.
Well, yeah, and the whole ownership thing, you can do that on the fly practically. So, what about the Bears?
Uh, this one could be a little tricky. Between the Bears and the Vikings, who has the more intriguing job opening? With all of those openings, Chicago does have its pros and cons. Cons certainly stand out with George McCaxey's press conference on Monday. The ownership and the Bears quarterback Justin Fields, which is a young, tremendous Ohio State prospect that's coming up, who's a dual threat gunslinger. But there just needs to be some leadership and some protection on the offensive front. Unfortunately, they don't have any first-round picks this offseason, but it does have a lot of cap space. So there's plenty of work that can be done on the roster, and this is a solid opportunity with a young quarterback to build around him and become successful. You just need the right head coach for the job.
So, and there's been a name being thrown around that could possibly land that head coach. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he was the defensive coordinator for Miami. That, if I remember right, he got let go after the season was over for them, and his name has been thrown to the top of the list for Chicago.
Another name that has been on Chicago's radar is current head coach of Ohio State, Ryan Day, because he does have connections with the Bears front office staff.
Okay.
Whether he will take that opportunity or not, nobody knows because there hasn't been any talk of it. But they might throw out an interview just to see what he says.
Well, I totally agree, and I hope they would. I really don't think that he would take it because of the spot he is over at Ohio State. He's got a good, firm core of coaches over there. The athletic department backs his decision with everything over there, so he's pretty much got a solid foundation over in Ohio State. I can't believe I even say the team's name. It makes me want to throw up most of the time. He's solid over there, and I think the only thing that would probably pry him away from there is if he were to make more money with the Bears than staying with Ohio State at this point.
And the only argument I would have against that is more than likely they would try and match that number for him to stay. But again, look at the head coaches that have gone from college to the NFL and their success rate.
Yeah.
It hasn't been good at all.
Nope.
So when you're a college coach, unless you've been to the NFL before, I wouldn't leave your current situation unless it's for a small assistant job so you can get to know how it is first and then see if you can make it as a head coach. But I wouldn't jump right to a head coaching spot because look what's happened to Nick Saban when he went to the NFL. Look what happened aside from his actions, look what happened to Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
He completely failed.
Yeah.
Both coaches have completely failed in the NFL, and look what Nick Saban's doing at Alabama.
Yep.
Continuously getting them to the national championship game every year or every other year.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody should know by now. I'm a very hardcore U of M supporter. I think there's only one coach out there that could probably go from college at this point to the NFL, and that is Jim Harbaugh. For the simple fact that before he became the coach of the Wolverines, he was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. So he knows what he's getting himself into. He's had his feet wet. And I'm pretty sure if he went back, he would do phenomenal. But and his name's been thrown around for teams too. And as far as I know, they were all false. So
Well, he's playing cat and mouse basically.
Yeah.
Last year, when most Michigan's fans wanted him fired, him and the athletic director were just having conversations and basically said that the fans want me gone, but you trust me, so I'm staying here. I'm just hearing what the NFL teams have to say just for kicks and giggles.
yeah,
And that's kind of what's happening again this year.
yeah,
So fans can speculate all they want, but Coach Harbaugh is basically just playing a cat and mouse game and just entertaining the sports writers because they need something to write about.
yep. I firmly believe that, and I can definitely agree with you on that. Yeah, he may be talking with NFL teams. Is he really leaving? No, I don't think he is. I don't think he ever will be. I think the only way I could see him going to a NFL team is if he's done everything he wanted to go out and accomplish at U of M and wants to see if he could do it all over again with an NFL team.
Yeah. And the only reason I think he would do that is if he gets terminated from the University of Michigan or years and years comes later and he's deciding that he's no longer interested in coaching college ball anymore.
Yeah, and I think that will take a very long time for him to decide that because if you watch him in the games on the sideline, yeah, he shows emotion, whether it's pissed off or happy, but at the end of the day, he's got that smile on his face like he is happy to be where he is at now.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of, you kind of brought up, so we might as well go to them. The Vikings. Their season was just, I guess. I mean, they had a chance at one point to get to the postseason, and then, for lack of way of describing it, the train fell off the tracks.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that the Vikings decided to part ways with Mike Zimmer after 20 years, but it says something about the uh, organization that they give their head coaches a chance, and that's something that you see as very valuable when it feels like the leash on new head coaches is getting tighter and tighter every year.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's a good thing that ownership appears to be patient because the Vikings may be facing a solid rebuild, and so what that means is that the defense needs major upgrades, and they are very strapped for cash. Kirk Cousins is entering the final year of his contract and is due $35 million in base salary. So you'll have to be ready to present a plan for that position. I'm not sure of the NFC North as I was a few years ago. It appears Aaron Rodgers could be on his way out soon. Like every other year, he's said that, but that's again all speculation, and that needs to be confirmed, and nothing can be confirmed based on Aaron Rodgers.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, yes, Aaron Rodgers is a phenomenal quarterback, but honestly, as a fan of the NFC North, as a fan of the Detroit Lions, I firmly believe everyone is getting sick of his childish antics during the draft, during the combine, and during the preseason about how he does not want to be at Green Bay, but when it's time for him to do his job, his actions out on the field says he wants to be there.
Right. And with the Minnesota Vikings being in a rebuild, really the pieces that you have to work with that are NFL stars are Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
Everybody else is you got to work around them.
Yeah. So I could see maybe the Vikings pulling a offense or defensive coordinator, or maybe somebody from the college scene, but I don't see them pulling a big name quarterback or big name coach to their facility to fill that spot because they only have the 2-star players, and their record explains everything else to everyone.
Yeah. And this is going to be the year where the ownership will see how you handle the draft and free agency because you've never had to go through this in 20 years with Coach Zimmer. This is the first year you've had to do it, and now that he's out, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle everything.
Well, exactly. Houston Texans. I mean, they had a strong team. I felt this year. I don't know exactly what happened to them, but I felt like they would have had a shot.
Uh, the fact that Houston's record was surprising, but in a good way, tells you everything you need to know about the state of the team. Uh, the relative success was not enough to save Dave Culley, who was let go after just 1 year. But that does not reflect well on the organization and could make it harder for the general manager to attract a top candidate. Uh, there, there has been some names thrown out for that head coaching job, um, but you got to find someone who is going to work well with your organization. Houston has an ongoing conundrum in Deshaun Watson, who was inactive all year. The offense has minimal weapons to build upon, but might have something in quarterback Davis Mills. And they do have some young, promising players on defense, specifically Jonathan Gernard and Camus Gregier Hill. But they'll have to add considerably more talent during the offseason. So, very similar to what the Vikings are going through and some of the Broncos. You have to build a little bit more if
Well,
you're going to be
yeah,
successful.
and before I get roasted by the NFL world, I will stand corrected. Houston didn't have a chance in hell to make a playoff because they ended the season 4-13.
Yeah, that's correct. And again, it's releasing your head coach after his first year just because of that record. Again, says everything you need to know about the organization, but you can't do that when you're an organization.
Well,
If you're going to fire a coach because of that record, that also means Dan Campbell should no longer be the head coach of the Detroit Lions.
well, yeah, I kind of can agree with you on that. Minus the fact of the matter that Detroit has actually given their new head coaches at least 4 years to prove themselves, and they've stuck to that every coach. So
Right.
yeah, I could see how people would think, well, Houston fired their first year head coach after doing a 4-13 season, and why isn't Detroit doing the same thing? Well, Detroit actually gives their coach time to familiarize themselves with the team and bring their culture in and try and get the team to accept that culture to see if it's even going to work out. And that could take more than one season, especially for a team like Detroit who has had failing seasons year after year, and past 5 years reached the playoffs twice, and it wasn't even under Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell was able to do more in his first season, even though he had a losing record, than the coach before him was able to do in 4 years.
Yeah. Dan Campbell did more than either of the two previous Lions head coaches in 1 year. He got 3 wins, two of them being against winning teams in 1 year. And no other Lions coach in the last 8 years has been able to do that.
Yeah. So, and we've mentioned his name in the beginning of the show. Detroit has a guy like St. Brown that they can actually build around. I mean, he came out of nowhere, rookie first year with the team, and he has been quoted as he's excited for next season. He can't wait for it already. And you have players that say the same thing, and this is a guy that was drafted just before this season started, and towards the end is already almost turning into a superstar for the team.
Yeah, you watch the Lions' first 8 games, you wouldn't know the name.
No.
He didn't play, I don't think, much at all.
No.
Very few snaps, very few targets, and come the second half of the season, you're like, oh, holy shit, who is this guy?
He's almost a household name already.
That doesn't happen.
No. So hopefully that's a good sign for the team for them to be more productive next season. Maybe a winning season. Am I going to say a playoff record season? No. It's only the second year of the coaching staff being in there, and they're already making changes with with coaches that they're rather getting rid of or giving a different position. So, yes, they probably will have a winning record next season. Is it going to be good enough to make a playoff or even a wild card? Maybe. And that's a big maybe. But they are, I would say, officially moving in the right direction to not only change the culture for the football world over in Detroit, but to change it permanently. And hopefully they have found their permanent head coach for a long time coming and not just 4 years.
Right.
So it's definitely going to be interesting. And as I say that, we definitely got off onto one of our rants like we normally do. Or I did, at least.
That's expected.
So,
as everyone knows.
And the Dolphins. I don't even know who they would be able to pull as a head coach. I mean, they fired him. I think, what was he? Less than 10 years with them, if I remember right.
I'm not really. The Dolphins are expected. I'm not sure about how long he's been with the team, but they are expected to have the most cap space in this offseason. But they do. But there's questions about the opening. We didn't expect Brian Flores to be fired. But reports were starting to indicate he was on the losing end of a power struggle with the general manager.
Yeah.
There was when you're dealing with an injury to your star quarterback, or no, the jury is still out on quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, where he showed improvement in his second year, but he missed a lot of time due to injury, and there were moments when the offense just fell flat, and you almost hate to admit it, but you think a quarterback change at some point would help down the line, especially when you have a stud in former Alabama star Jalen Waddle and a defense that could be one of the best in the league if you use it the right way. And plus, in all seriousness, who wouldn't want to live in South Florida? It's beautiful there. You practice in the sunshine every day, go play out in the sun every day. It's like Miami doesn't play a whole lot of teams that deal with cold weather. You play in a dome or you play outside where it's nice. And for example, Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa, who played in the SEC, that's their home ground.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're not used to the cold. They like warmth, and that's where they're staying. So who wants to go join them?
Right. I'm not seeing how long he was with Miami. Apparently, they don't want to tell us. All right. So back at the topic at hand, Senior Bowl coaching staff announced.
Yeah, shortly after the regular season was over, the NFL announced that the Detroit Lions and the New York Jets were selected as the coaching staffs for the 73rd Reese's Senior Bowl next month in Mobile, Alabama. This will be the first time in college All-Star Games history that the head coaches will serve in an advisory role. Lions head coach Dan Campbell and Jets head coach Robert Saleh will promote assistants on their staffs into leadership roles for the week of the game. This change is being made to offer assistants development opportunities and as a way to showcase those coaches in front of other NFL teams.
So, with that being said, could this possibly show maybe the teams going after those two coaches after they see what they can do at the Senior Bowl then?
I think they have a chance to go after their assistants, and yeah, the head coaches as well. But like I said, this is a chance to where the assistant coaches have a chance to develop the young men at the NFL level that they are already doing, so that they can prepare them for when they get drafted.
Okay.
And it's also a chance to show these young stars who are playing in the Senior Bowl that hey, we've only had 1 week to learn this NFL type style, and we've proved we can do that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's good for Dan Campbell because obviously the NFL has taken notice of his ability to coach at the NFL level to want him to be a part of the Senior Bowl.
Yes, it does show a lot about the coaches that were selected, that they were noticeable. And again, this goes back to Dan Campbell did change the culture in Detroit, and I do firmly believe that that's why he was selected to be one of the coaches. Um, and it's interesting to see how the draft will come out after this year. Last year, a record number of 106 players were selected in the NFL draft who played in that Senior Bowl. The game is for draft prospects who have completed their college eligibility. So I'm curious to know that since the NFL made their decisions to name these two head coaches, since they've done such a great job with their programs already, could we see the 106 record be broken again this year?
That could be a very well possibility too.
Based on the head coaches, I think that is a definite possibility.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait for that game to be played so we can watch and see how it goes.
I can't neither. I'm hoping it's on a day I don't have to work, but
The game will take place on Saturday, February 5th at Hancock Whitney Stadium on the South Alabama campus.
February 5th.
Time is TBD.
Should be able to watch it. I will be on day shift that day, so I should be able to watch it.
Should be a good game. If I think there were a couple Chippewas that were selected to play in that game, if I remember correctly, but I'm not completely positive. I think there's one or two, but I do know that there will be several players from the Big Ten in that game as well. So I'm excited to see the Big Ten do well.
Right. So, with that being said, obviously the NFL is both of our favorite sports along with NCAA football. On to your favorite sport.
It is not surprising that this star has set yet another NHL record. He is really moving up to one of the top of the list to as one of the greatest that's ever played the game. Yes, I mentioned before that the King, Henrik Lundqvist, has been one of the best goalies in the NHL. this person is making his way to join that list. Former Pittsburgh Penguin, longtime Pittsburgh Penguin, and Vegas Golden Knights goalie, who is now a Chicago Blackhawk, Marc-Andre Fleury, set an NHL record when on his return to Vegas. He is the lone player to ever have this accomplishment. And without further ado, the accomplishment that I'm referring to. Marc-Andre Fleury is the lone goaltender to have beaten all teams in the NHL. Currently, there are 32 teams in the NHL. He has beaten every single one of them in his career.
Jeez, yeah, that is definitely a record that, unless the NHL goes to 33 teams and he doesn't beat that 33rd team before somebody else does, a record that will stand with his name next to it, because unless, like I said, another team is added to the NHL, you're not going to be able to beat that record.
Yeah, and he, in his return, as always, they have video tributes. He's very grateful for his amazing 4 years in Vegas. Obviously, his first year, none of the players thought they would have to help out in the community as much as they did because of the shooting. But it was a great opportunity to get to know your new team as people rather than just a hockey team and as players. They went out, helped with the Habitat for Humanity, build houses. They helped donate meals, serve food for the homeless shelters, and they helped the community so much. I do recommend going out and watching that biography, the autobiography that's out. Do not remember what streaming it's on, but if you search Vegas Golden Knights first year video autobiography, you're gonna find it. It's only about an hour long, and it shows the history and everything that happened during that first year, and you can tell that the players who first started there meant the world to that team and that city. And for him to set the record in Vegas is not only something that's going to be very, very special, but it's something that's going to be remembered by everyone in that city and by him for a very long time. Because even though he was only there for 4 years, it was a very long 4 years.
Well,
Because
yeah,
of how much
and he was their first starting goalie when the Vegas Golden Knights came to the league too. So
after that, some breaking news coming out of the NCAA, transitioning to NHL. Former Minnesota Golden Gopher, ace goaltender, Jack LaFontaine, has signed a 1-year entry-level contract with the Carolina Hurricanes this past Sunday. He will be paid $750,000 at the NHL level and $70,000 at the American Hockey League level through the end of the season. The goalie was assigned to the taxi squad on last Monday as an expected to practice with the team the remainder of the week. LaFontaine was a third-round pick by Carolina back in the 2016 NHL draft, and is turning pro in the middle of the college hockey season with the University of Minnesota. The 24-year-old was 12-8-0 with a 2.69 goals against average and a .900 save percentage in 20 games. The opportunity was very right, he said. Obviously, it was a difficult decision to leave his teammates in Minnesota during mid-season, but sometimes these opportunities don't come along very often, and he knew in his heart that it was time to make the move. This opportunity is special in the sense that I've been working toward the goal of playing in the NHL since I was the age of 7. All of my actions, all of my sacrifices, all of my work has been for the common goal of playing in the NHL. Now it's time to come and work even harder. Do I know what I can do? Do what I know I can do and help this team in any way I can to keep them on the path to the Stanley Cup. Coach Rod Brindamore has said that we think he's one of the best goalies around in the amateur level. We've got to see him. We got to see him, and we get him. I think he understands that you got to come to play. You got to earn your spot. It's just an opportunity to see what he's all about for him to get a taste of what he's dreamt of his whole life, and it will be interesting to see how it all works out. I think that being drafted as an 18-year-old and being in the league 6 years later without going to any AHL or OHL or any other leagues that you have says something about his play. I've seen this goalie in person play against Michigan State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and all these other teams that they broadcast. He is a young star in the making.
Well, it's good to hear that, one, this is something that he believes he is ready for and has worked towards his entire life, that a young player like that is definitely getting his opportunity to go into the NHL, prove himself, and hopefully the right results will come out of it to a long, long career with rather the team that he signed for with, being the Hurricanes, or any other team in the NHL. From the sounds of it, he is a very good at what he does goalie, and there should be a fit with the Hurricanes for him to be on rather their lower seed teams till he gets the ability to be able to hang on the ice with the, as I would call it, the big dogs, or he just may be able to go right to the starting roster of the Hurricanes.
LaFontaine played his first 2 years at the University of Michigan from 2016 to 2018. And obviously 18 was when he got drafted, but then he transferred to the University of Minnesota for the 2019 up until the current 2022 season. He has played 96 collegiate games, and he has posted a 2.52 goals against average with a .915 save percentage with 5 shutouts to cap it off.
So, yeah,
Those statistics say everything about his gameplay.
Exactly. Now, yeah, he's got really good statistics, but like any other sport, as we call them, the leagues, are different play, harder play. So, yeah, you may be good at collegiate. That doesn't mean it's going to transfer over to the pros. It may
Right.
for some, and it may not for some. It all depends on your work ethic and what you're willing to do to get on that roster spot. What kind of work ethic you have and everything like that. And it sounds like this guy has the work ethic. Hopefully, it transfers over into his NHL career and he keeps that work ethic.
Yes, this will be a very good opportunity for him to show what he's all about and to show his work ethic, that he is seriously wanting to play in the NHL someday and that he deserves to be there. So it's really all on his shoulders now, since he has moved up to the big time, and he's going to be working countless hours with the goaltending coach and the goalies of the team, between, I believe it's Charlotte Checkers, unless they have changed their affiliate, and the Carolina Hurricanes, the NHL. So he will be going from back and forth, working with goaltending coaches and goalies and teams, and working very hard to try and be that call up if they need someone from the taxi squad.
Well, exactly. But moving on to our home state team, the Detroit Red Wings, it looks like there's a new VP of hockey operations in town.
Yes, Steve Yzerman is doing great. He is bringing alumni back to the city of Detroit. Nicholas Lidstrom, former captain, defenseman, Norris Trophy winner. I could go on to give him a great introduction. He has been hired as the vice president of hockey operations for the Detroit Red Wings as another franchise legend joins the Detroit front office. He will be involved in all aspects of hockey operations for the Red Wings in his new role. He played 20 years with Detroit and is considered one of the greatest defensemen in NHL history, winning 7 Norris trophies as being the best defenseman of all time. He has won the Conn Smythe Trophy as a playoff MVP and is quickly becoming, or he was becoming the first European-born player to ever win that award. After his playing days, he moved back to Sweden to retire, but he will be moving back to Detroit and buying his, if he doesn't already, he will have a second home in Detroit, so where he can do hockey operations and then still be able to go home and visit family during his time off.
Well, that is definitely good news coming out of Detroit for the Red Wings. I mean, as far as I remember, they started off hot in the season when it started this year. I mean, I think they're on a little downward spiral right now. But with him being in the front office, his legacy with Detroit, I firmly believe that he will help turn around the culture over in Detroit.
Absolutely 100%. You bring back those types of guys that played in the 90s and early 2000s, you're going to get their type of workouts and work ethic that they had, and you're going to learn a lot from them. Yeah, it's a different type of style of hockey that it is now, but just because the style's different doesn't mean the workouts are different.
Yep. So it'll be nice to see what he is able to bring to the table as a front office personnel instead of a player on the ice, and I think it's going to be for all of the good. I mean, they're currently sitting 17-17 and 5 on the season right now, so they're sitting at 500. With him coming in now, they may be able to turn around their season since it's still early for them, and maybe make a playoff run.
I couldn't agree with you more, and only time will tell.
So, and it looks like you have us ending our tonight's show on a high note, I'm going to say probably funny note from the picture I'm looking at currently, and that is with the ceremonial puck drop in Anaheim versus Detroit.
This past Sunday, the Anaheim Ducks had Angels Night. The Anaheim Ducks brought in the Los Angeles Angels VIP for the pregame puck drop. The Major League Baseball team's unofficial mascot performed his duties perfectly, but not before turning into the cheering crowd and acknowledging it. A few years ago, some people may remember the Rally Goose that happened in Detroit. Detroit was down by a couple runs, and a goose flew into the scoreboard, and Detroit ended up coming back and winning that game and had a winning streak. The Los Angeles Angels have something called the Rally Monkey. The Rally Monkey hopes to bring the Ducks luck, as it often does with the Angels. During an Angels game against the San Francisco Giants on June 6, 2000, scoreboard operators at Angel Stadium played a video with a monkey jumping up and down next to the clip of a Jim Carrey movie, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. The crowd loved it, So the monkey made another appearance in the 9th inning, with the Angels trailing by a run. This time, the words "Rally Monkey" were on screen next to the monkey, and yes, the Angels rallied and won. Since then, the tradition is going strong, and the Angels hired their own white-haired capuchin monkey named Katie. On Sunday, the Rally Monkey was at Honda Center to greet Ducks players as they arrived at the arena, and he came sporting his own custom-made Ducks jersey, mini stick, and puck. And with that, he was doing the ceremonial puck drop between Captain Ryan Getzlaff of the Anaheim Ducks and Captain Dylan Larkin. And if I say so, that's a perfect puck drop.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find a... Here we go.
Click the link.
Well, we'll see just how calm the Rally Monkey remains at center ice as he acknowledges the crowd. This is something special here tonight. The Rally Monkey dropping the ceremonial first puck. And there it is. And that was something special.
So there it is. He acknowledging the fans in the stadium and... Okay, so he's good. What? And him dropping the puck for the start of the game like every NHL game has started, except for not every game gets a monkey to drop a puck.
And it almost seemed like he'd done it before. That monkey was not freaked out at all. He was calm, composed, and embraced the moment.
Yeah. So, I see you have the NCAA Georgia wins national championship. I want to send out a big congratulations to Georgia beating Alabama, right? Rolling Tide?
Yep, and an SEC rematch.
Yeah, in a dramatic fashion. You know my opinions on everything when it came to that whole NCAA playoffs. But with that being said, that doesn't mean we should crowd the light with it for Georgia. They worked their butt off to get to where they were and win that national title.
Overall, this game, if you fell asleep to it, it's understandable. This was a field goal game up until about the fourth quarter. There was a total of 5 field goals in the first half. And that's the only scoring that happened up until the third quarter when Georgia finally decided to find the end zone. But even after that, they found their streak. They found the offense. Georgia ended up scoring 20 points in the fourth quarter to Alabama's 9 and ended up absolutely deflating the Alabama Crimson Tide by a final score of 33-18.
Yeah, that definitely... I don't know if you heard me giggle when you said if you fell asleep watching this game. I understand. Because I only remember the first half of the game and then waking up to the Georgia celebrating their win.
Well, and truthfully, it's like I heard a lot of that after the very next day. We're talking about it in the offices and in public and just socializing, and it's just like, yeah, I kind of fell asleep after halftime and then woke up late fourth quarter and was like, wait, what did I miss?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I was when I woke up.
So I think most of us who did end up watching that game can relate to that at some point because it was a very uneventful first half, and if college football and the world of sports has taught us anything, typically around, I want to say 60 to 70% of the time, that's how the game usually goes.
Yeah.
The whole game. But you'll get that extra 20-30% that halftime is when the sparks fly and people actually wake up.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Fourth quarter games for NCAA is where it's at. I mean, I could just have one quarter to pick from to watch the game. It's the fourth quarter because that's pretty much where the sparks fly.
So overall, very outside of the score, it was a very close game. Um, Total yards were 364 to 399, right around the 380 point average for both teams. Uh, Passing yards, Alabama had more almost 150 more passing yards than Georgia did. But rushing yards, it was the opposite. They had about 140 more rushing yards than Alabama. However, the average yards per play remained about the same, averaging about 5.5 for both teams. Uh, First downs, based about the same, 20, 22 first downs. Third down efficiency, the percentage was about the same, 4 for 12 for Georgia, whereas Alabama was 9 for 20. Total plays, you had Alabama running 85 total plays to Georgia's 56. Penalty yards, not really a whole factor in that game. 10 for Georgia for 70 yards. Alabama had 57 yards under 7 penalties. Turnovers were a key factor. Georgia had 1 fumble that was lost, and Alabama had 2 interceptions that were thrown. And the 2 interceptions were the keys to Georgia's electric offense. But what surprises me is that the time of possession. Watching that game, I wouldn't believe the time of possession if you were to tell me until I look. Alabama had 31 minutes and 31 seconds of total offense. Georgia had 28 minutes and 29 seconds of total offense.
Jeez.
I would have thought one of those numbers would have been much higher for one team because one team wanted to take control of the clock.
Right.
So overall, looking at the statistics, it was a pretty evenly matched game. But it all comes down to red zone efficiency, turnovers, and third down efficiency.
Yep. So with that being said, obviously we've hit our end of the road on our list of things that we actually pay attention to and write down to talk about. As you were talking, I decided to bring up the Pittsburgh Steelers Kansas City game, and I believe it was like 3 minutes left in the game in the first quarter, and it's still scoreless. No, yeah, 2 minutes 54 seconds. So might as well say 3 minutes left in the game. I'm gonna say it right now. Kansas City wins 24-17.
I think that's a good prediction. I'm gonna go with 28-24, Kansas City.
Okay. So, as we say always, you've heard it here. Our predictions are in 24-17 and 28-24. I guess we'll see who is closest at the end of 4 quarters because, like I said, it is scoreless right now and it's almost the end of the first quarter. So, with that being said, as always, thank you for joining us this evening. We value everyone's support. And as always, have a break and have a sport.